Asked me to. Anyone mind including?
What's your specialty? Bootlicking?
He's your roommate.
That's not my...
He'll test us on that stuff?
Oh, come on, Cameron. Don't you get anything?
What? What? Sounds boring to me.
Don't come.
You know how many demerits we're talking, Dalton?
So don't come, please.
Look, all I'm saying is that we have to be careful. We can't get caught.
No shit, Sherlock.
I don't know, guys. It's starting to sound dangerous. Why don't you stay home?
Listen, don't mind Cameron. I might mess it up a little. Coming to the study group tonight?
No. I've got some history I want to do.
Suit yourself.
Todd, you coming tonight?
No.
Why not? You were there. You heard Keating. Don't you want to do something about it? Yes. But what?
Keating said that everybody took turns reading, and I don't want to do that.
Gosh, you really have a problem with that, don't you?
This is going to be like a quick little episode on account of like yesterday. This has been like an entire inner monologue, and this is just... I've mentioned this before in a past episode talking about this, but I just need to talk about it a little bit more in depth because I've just been thinking about it. I'm doing another Dead Poet Society episode. I'm talking about Todd versus Cameron, or just simply how these two characters would actually be friends if it wasn't for the fact that the entire story and their environment is just simply set up for them to just hate each other. So, let's begin, shall we? So, in my last episode, I was talking about how Cameron is a very complex character and how people have often misinterpreted his actions for him to be overtly villainous, for him to just simply be a terrible person, when in fact, he was just simply a kid going through a lot of pressures to basically just seek out validation from his teachers, from basically anybody, because he just simply needs validation so bad, and he just upholds a very conformist way of thinking. But he's also a very free spirit who is just simply doing whatever he's told to uphold this very conservative view in their time period in the 1950s, Welton's traditions, and he does represent that banner of tradition very well. And that's what makes him so interesting, because there's more to him that meets the eye. And I've mentioned how, in comparison, Todd kind of does fall into the conformist route, but it's not really because he actually wants to. But it's mainly because he has convinced himself that he doesn't really have a voice due to the constant neglect of his parents and being in the shadow of his brother Jeffrey and him being the star student, and Todd just simply feeling like he just has to just simply fall in line just because, also just mostly because of fear. These two are both very high-strung characters, very set in their own ways, yet their approaches to everything are both very different. Todd is very soft and shy, while Cameron, even though he has his own insecurities, there's a level of confidence to an extent. It's faux confidence. It's also a level of aggressive vibrato to an extent. An annoying little streak to an extent that he does present to people to, again, put on this little facade that he is the perfect student, teacher's pet, basically. But again, both of these characters are similar but not exactly the same. Yet, how they are treated in the group is very noteworthy, and it is just often plaguing my mind, and I just feel like I know I'm not making this up because I've seen people comment on this low-key, and I've read even fan fiction, like stories, where people actually like have this thought set in mind and they've written it out so beautifully how they're both treated in the group, how both of them are similar, how both of them are new people into the group, yet one is accepted, one is denied, one is more digestible, one is treated as a threat, one is just seen not as a threat. This is just simply, this whole dynamic between these two characters is very interesting within male friendships, and also within, I guess, I'm just using $50 words, patriarchal viewings of how men operate within each other to an extent. I say this because their characterizations are different. Todd's acceptance into the group is kind of shady to the fact that he is not seen as an overall threat to the other boys' standing or the other boys' whole, like, just to their standing, mostly to Charlie. Neil's acceptance, or like Neil's efforts to include Todd, are on a different stance because of, it's just simply he's just genuinely very interested in Todd. He's not really thinking about this, but like the film does touch on the themes of like conformity, non-conformity, and the time period that we're in, the time period that does take place, with it being the 50s, it does uphold a very patriarchal, conservative view on men and women, and it briefly touches on how men do interact with each other within their own relationships to each other. What I mean by that is, men are expected to be the top dog and dominate over everything and everyone. You are the top dog. Everything is all about you because you're the man. All day, every day, it's all about you. But also, other men are your competition, and they're also your peers at the same time, so you also have to one-up them at every single chance. It's just a constant dick-measuring contest. But you also have to be impressive to other men, and there's some ways that you can be impressive or more impressive to men, and other things that will make you less impressive. That is, being in your feelings, being soft, or any way that's seen as girly, or just simply not being very hyper masculine. That's just, in many ways, that'll just make you not that impressive or that worthy of like respect within a very patriarchal view. The overall goal that is expected with these boys at Welton is they are supposed to graduate with flying colors. They're supposed to be accepted into an Ivy League school. They're supposed to desire a heterosexual relationship with a woman, settle down, have kids, do whatever boring job, doctor or lawyer, very normal, very like worthy pursuits, and it's very typical for them to pursue those avenues in life, and it really does mirror what it is. But like that is what it's expected, and within these characters, they do try to subvert what is expected of them. And Todd represents the form of gentleness and soft nature within his own shyness and anxiety, and his own storyline arc is presented as such. So his acceptance into the group is both noteworthy and very nice, but also it's very shady into the fact that both of these characters are basically the same, are basically similar, but somehow Todd is more digestible because his whole personality is seen as non-threatening, but Cameron's...
Test us on that stuff? Oh, come on, Cameron. Don't you get anything? What? What?
Sounds boring to me.
Don't come.
You know how many demerits we're talking, Dalton?
So don't come, please.
All I'm saying is that we have to be careful. We can't get caught.
No shit, Sherlock.
I don't know. It's starting to sound dangerous. Why don't you stay home? Hey, crazy. I've got one that's even better than that. I do. There's a young married couple, and they're driving through the forest at night from a long trip, and they run out of gas, and there's a madman on them.
Oh, that's the with madman on the road.
I love that story.
I told you that one.
You did not. I got that in camp in 6th grade.
In a remote abode in the Sandkill Road lived a man named William Bloat.
My parents made me take the clarinet for years.
I love the clarinet.
I hated it. The saxophone.
It's seen as a threat because, well, it's seen as a threat for understandable reasons, but also not very understandable reasons, because simply of the fact that Cameron likes to follow the rules, and because Cameron also has an attitude of a snobbish student, and obviously people are not going to vibe with that for understandable reasons. People are just not really going to vibe with that for understandable reasons. His characterization often being like a prime example of how red hair men are treated, being seen as very undesirable, whiny, wimpy, annoying, and does have a separate friendship with Neil, and Neil does make efforts to include Cameron in the group genuinely. It's also just a form of like him taking pity to an extent, because it's obvious that Cameron, being as he is, he doesn't really have that many friends, and Cameron really does just want to be their friends so badly, and he just really does want to be accepted, because Cameron does believe Keating's teachings to an extent, even though he does find some flaws in it, because he's just so like conditioned to believe that Welton's traditions and like how things are done are just simply the way they should just be doing it, even though in the back of his mind that he knows that all this is bullshit. He does know that he doesn't like personally agree with the rules himself, but he's just going to go along with it anyway, just due to fear and intimidation, and just fear of like what being free-spirited, free-thinking, what non-conforming ideas of like how to live your life. If we're going off of like queer coding, I do think in my own headcanon that he is just simply gay, and that's what makes his character more even tragic, because he does simply, like, he does in the end regress back to his old self, and his actions do lead to a huge falling out with everyone. And even though that makes him kind of like in the moment kind of like the bad guy, because he did sell everybody out, it's understandable that he did that, because this is just all he ever known. And also he just wants to be their friend so bad, he just doesn't want to lose everybody. But if Todd did this, like, we would be making so many like excuses, we would be trying to understand his point of view, but it's just weird. Like, we can be upset with his actions, but also like understand that like Cameron is just simply a very complex character, and that there's just simply more to his story than that what meets the eye. But even though like this entire story is just set up for these two to hate each other, they would actually be very good friends. They would actually be very good friends, because number one, Cameron, within his own high-strungness, is like within his own like little annoying habits, he can also be like he can also just simply be a person who Todd can lean on to an extent. Well, actually, he can be a person that Todd can come to for advice, because he's very, you can tell that Cameron does think he is the head of the group. He and Meeks and Pitts are the heads of the group. They do follow their heads to an extent. They can approach things with like a logical sense and make sense of like the more difficult things, and they are very reliable in their own ways. And Cameron is also very reliable. He is very reliable, and that he can provide Todd with a more comforting presence, and he can also just simply not make Todd overthink and not be anxious as well. And Todd can provide Cameron with a sense of gentleness and like friendship that and acceptance that Cameron wants, and remind him and to remind Cameron that like he doesn't have to take himself so seriously. Cameron doesn't have to take himself that seriously. That it's okay for Cameron to be silly, for him to goof off, for him to just simply be him. He can just simply let his guard down, and that there's no one that he really needs to impress, and that I don't know, I just feel like a friendship between Todd and Cameron would be very beautiful. They just simply know what it's like to just simply be in their heads all the time, and with their different approaches to life, they can just simply be a friend to each other, to just simply inspire each other to both follow their hearts, and also to just simply guide themselves. It really is just set up for them to hate each other, because the group in general, with it being like a great group of friends, it's a very delightful group. I have to admit, the group is just simply shady, because I feel like within their quick acceptance to Todd and there's just constant reluctance to just simply be nice to Cameron, or just simply include Cameron in general, is just simply for the fact that I feel like it's just them saying that Todd is inherently better than Cameron. Todd is better than Cameron because his personality is just simply more digestible. Even though Todd is just as a stickler for the rules for his own personal reasons, not because he agrees with them, but it's because of his it's because of his own anxiety. But it's not a competition, and that both of these characters do add something to the group, and they are special within their own way. Each individual character within these 7 characters, well, each character within the group offers something to the group. Like, even Cameron does add something. The 7 of them, they're all misfits. They can just all add something to the table. And these differing personalities getting along and butting heads, it's a very realistic portrayal of like how, and I said this in my last episode, how they are a good example of how male friendships operate. It kind of mirrors a very patriarchal view of how men do operate with each other, how we do have a tendency to kind of like try to like compare ourselves to each other and try to like one up the other and try to intimidate the other. It's just simply that. I'm rambling, but like I hope this makes sense. I feel like this makes sense to an extent. But in the end, it is kind of like, it's a little shady to do this to people. But let me be clear throughout this entire episode. Like, let me be clear. I am not saying that the group owes Cameron a relationship in any way. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that if they really didn't want to be friends with Cameron, if they really didn't really like want to like include, if they really didn't want Cameron in the group in general, then they should have just simply left him be. Like, just simply leave him out. I'm mostly talking to Neil. I'm talking about Neil. No one was really forcing Neil to include Cameron in side groups. No one was really no one was really forcing Neil to include Cameron even further into the group. Like, no one was really forcing any of them to really interact with Cameron. If that's how they really felt, they really just felt like, no, he's just simply annoying. We just don't really fuck with him like that. Then just simply leave him out. Like, you shouldn't really make him feel like he's a part of something, and then just simply, while doing that, like, make him feel like he's just simply not worth anything. When we are in relation to other people, we need to approach our relationships with intention. You know how people are saying that you should date with an intention, like, meaning you should know to an extent of like, what do you want in a partner? What do you like? Where do you see, like when you're looking for a partner, what are the things that you're willing to tolerate? Like, what are deal breakers? Like, do you want to get married, or do you want to have kids? Like, do you just simply want a life partner where it's like, we're not married, we don't have any kids, we're just simply together forever? Like, what intention are you looking for when you are looking for a partner? And I feel like when we're making friends, we need to apply a similar mindset. And when we're making friends, like, where do you want this person to go into the filing cabinet that is called our life, and how significant you want this person to be? And that sounds a little like, disheartening, or it feels like a kind of like a empty way to like look at it, I feel like. But like, it's true to an extent, because like sometimes like there are levels of like different types of friendships in this world. Like, some people are very close friends, some people are very surface level friends, some people are not even friends at all. There are like many different types of friendships. There are also workplace friendships. They're just simply acquaintances at best. Like, you just see this person, you just happen to know each other, and you just simply, you don't really have that many deep conversations, but you're just friendly with each other. You may have like met each other like once in like a very communal setting, like school or like a club or something, but like, or you just had like classes with them. Like, where the like you just there are just many different types of friendships, and I feel like we need to like decide when we're making friends. We do really need to make friends with intention. Do you want this person to be a close friend to you? Do you want this person to be a potential best friend to you? Or do you just simply want this person to just simply be like a friendly face or just an acquaintance? Or do you just simply not want to be friends with them at all? And when we do apply this mindset of like where this person can go into the filing cabinet that is called our life, it will make things less complicated. But also there needs to be a level of communication, because this is where feelings get hurt. This is where things get confusing, and people will assume that this relationship is one way, and that's just not how that's just not really what you're looking for. Like, if you're generally just not really looking for any more like close or like best friends in your life, you just simply want like just like a surface level friendship, like an acquaintance. I feel like it's weird to even like say this or like have conversations like that, but like communication is key in these situations, because it just has the potential for a huge misunderstanding to occur, in my opinion. And also the fact that friendships are a very low pressured, casual environment where people can come as they are, and you're not really putting up your best, like you're not really on your completely best behavior. You still are on your best behavior, because you're not just simply showing your full self right off the bat to complete strangers or even to your own acquaintances, but there's still a level of like casualness or less thinking involved in those types of situations, because it's not really a romantic relationship. It's just simply a friendship. You're more relaxed with your friends. Your friends can see all sides of you. That's just kind of how I see it. So yeah, in general, the group does not owe Cameron a relationship. They don't. But also, if that's how they felt, they should have just simply left him be. And also, the constant comparison within Todd and Cameron is it's not acting in the spirit of like male bonding or like male friendship, because one is not better than the other, and one person, like both characters do add something to the group, and they do make a good presence, or like they do make a good significance on the film. And I do think that these two characters would be very good friends, and that their whole dynamic is an example of like how men do operate within each other. And I do feel like Dead Poet Society is a good commentary for all aspects. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's a very good social film to an extent, because it just shows how society does operate, how conformist and non-conformist like thinking does like clash, how being your true self can sometimes be scary at times, when to have a voice. Like it teaches you how to be creative, and also like does give like good commentary on like love and friendships. Is just how men do like operate, and like how men really do socialize with each other, because it provides good commentary on that. But anyway, that's just kind of all I wanted to say about like Todd and Cameron. So yeah, I'm kind of just rambling. I told you this was gonna be a quick episode, but yeah, that's kind of all I have for today. So yeah, thank you for listening to Let's Discuss with Nick Marshall. You can find the podcast on Spotify, anywhere you stream podcasts. You can follow the podcast on social media, Instagram and TikTok at Let's Discuss Podcast _ all lowercase. And you can follow me, Nick.Marshall02, all lowercase, if you want to see your gracious host in the little flesh. Like, you just want to put a face to the voice. Anyway, that's kind of all I had today. This is just me rambling, and yeah. But anyway, it's been a good talk. I'm just feeling chatty today. It's been a good talk. Okay, yeah. But that's kind of all I have for today. But I will talk to you guys soon. All right, bye. Bye. Bye.